Hey, Pete.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Nice
Great to see you.
Toshi. How you doing? We made around the world in 80 days, huh?
It's a magic carpet ride. Just full of wonder. Full of wonder.
This is Becca, by the way.
Nice to meet you. This is my wife, Toshi.
Nice to meet you. I absolutely love your music. I'm such a big fan, Mr. Seeger.
Pete.
Oh, Pete.
Harold is putting the lean on you there? Trying to get you to play?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Well, don't hold it against him. It's for a good cause. Want to use this beauty?
They always keep it handy, huh, Pete? He's like a gunfighter with his 6-gun, always keeping it close.
Oh, the time will come up when the winds will stop and the breeze will cease to be breathing.
And that is a clip from A Complete Unknown. I'm delighted to say that its director and co-writer James Mangold joins us. James, hello, and thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Simon. It's nice to be with you today.
Where are you speaking to us from?
I'm speaking from my office here in Century City, California, in the heart of Los Angeles, California, amid, of course, the catastrophic fires that have just taken place over the last week. I would be with you in the UK right now if it all had gone more by clockwork. But my own home, as well as many others, were threatened, and many were destroyed. Thousands by what's occurred. I myself was very lucky. I'm merely existing in a house currently without power or gas heat, but my home is still there, and my wife and my children are all fine.
That's very good to hear. Thank you for just updating us on this. And as you said, you were going to be over here, but thank you for your time. This particular part of the Bob Dylan story begins with the Elijah Wald book in 2015. Dylan Goes Electric, with that splendid subtitle, Newport, Seeger, Dylan, and the Night That Split the 60s, which kind of tells you a lot about the territory here. When does this become a James Mangold project?
Right then, I was mid 2019. I was given the book and an early pass on the screenplay by Jay Cox, and the moment before I had even read the script, I was like, I want to do this. I was already writing it. I was on my way to the Telluride Film Festival in Colorado with Le Mans 66, and I started writing it at the high altitude, oxygen deprived altitude of Telluride, Colorado, literally during that festival, rewriting and writing notes on the script. And by the time I got to the Toronto Film Festival, which is only about 10 days later, I was meeting with Timmy and we were forming an alliance to make the picture. That's now almost 6 years ago, but so that's how long it's been percolating in my life.
So why did you go so quickly to Timothée Chalamet?
Well, I think the answer is in the movie.
That is correct. But before you shot anything, you clearly saw something and heard something. I mean, since then, we've seen him in Wonka, so we know he can sing and so on. But you knew something about Timothée Chalamet that made you go straight there. Well,
Timmy is one of the most gifted actors of his generation. So there's that. Put that over here. Then he's also the right age. He is he's scrawny, brilliant, quick-minded, gifted musically, all things that Bob was at that time. And one of the things that I'm most conscious of, particularly when making biopics like this one, is we're making a movie about Bob Dylan between the ages of 19 and 24. So I really need, although our image of Bob Dylan, our kind of mental, cultural image of Bob Dylan is not that young, I needed a way to kind of shock the audience into understanding that this young volcanic talent who wrote at least 24 of the most important songs of the 20th century did all that before he crossed the threshold of his 24th birthday. And I needed someone young and brilliant and quick-minded who, when the camera looked in their eyes, we not only felt how they felt about what was in front of them in the scene, but we also saw this clockwork, the gears spinning behind the eyes, because I personally feel like Dylan was living in two universes at this time. One was the present with the people around him, and one was also riding this kind of volcanic talent he had inside him. He had a kind of internal tiger by the tail, and these songs were coming out of him and required tending, even if that world only existed in his mind. And that was something I felt instinctually that Timmy could capture.
But even though Bob Dylan was very young, he was influenced by much older singers, folk and blues singers. So he needed to be young and very old, and his voice needed to be young and old at the same time. That's a very particular skill that you're after.
Yes, it is. I mean, I can't say, being a movie director is a little like being an obsessive gambler. You have hunches and you go with them.
Yeah.
And I somehow felt that Timmy was up for this. And I couldn't articulate it more like it's a kind of scientific fact. I didn't know. It's more like I had a divining rod and I sensed there was water here. But I don't really have a way I can explain my instincts any better than any other artist.
And what was it like sharing the script with Bob Dylan?
Well, anxiety ridden, because at first, when I did my first pass, I went way more into the personal life than his management team had anticipated. And they all became quite nervous. And that's when COVID hit in 2020. And because Bob had a tour cancel, he asked to read the script. They were all, a little worried about, and he liked it. And that created a new phase on the writing process in which I started sitting down with Bob himself and talking about the script and talking about that time and really interrogating him about all things philosophical, granular detail, anything I could get from him. And of course, his own emotional experiences in that period, and trying to get those as right as I could for the film.